Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, and welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. Our program is brought to you by Worth Wealth Management, and it's always great to have a conversation with Kris Munsch because something's always going on in his world. But Kris has been in the entrepreneurial side of business for years, including home inspecting. He's now in commercial cleaning and I'll call repair of damage to homes, from everything from, maybe it's called disaster repair. Is that what you call it, Kris?
That's what you'd call it, disaster restoration.
If you have a disaster, Kris is who you call. But he also spent 10 years in higher education. So he is joining us on a series of programs to talk about becoming if you want to be an entrepreneur, what are those things you need to consider? What are those things that you want to have and some goals you should have to take your passion to the next level of actually turning it from a passion into a business? So, Kris, today's show, we talked about this, and one thing is how can you be bank ready? So the program could be called Please Fund Us. We have a great idea. How do you get bank ready? But starting the program, Kris, what are you up to today?
Oh, just drowning in a little business. My wife and I going down another different avenue that kind of fits in with what we're doing. So we bought a pest control company, and so now, as part of that, as my mom reminded me a couple of days ago, stop complaining. You did this to yourself. So, but
I like your mom already.
Oh yeah,
Can we have her on the show?
No, she would
how to
tell
take
all
care
the
of Kris.
She'd give away all my secrets. I was texting back and forth with one of my team members. I got this team, and we were talking back and forth about that. And it's the reality that what I enjoy about it is, the pest business isn't something I woke up one morning, man, I'm like, I want to be in the pest business. It's the process of creating it and putting it together. And how do you bring everyone together? How do you talk to customers? How do you price? How do you get licensed? It's all the things that go with it, right? And that's part of that whole thing about being there. That's the questions you're going to be asked if you're going to be bank ready.
Well, if you're bank ready, there's several routes to go when you're doing that, and probably your example of the different businesses that you've started and you've run, there are several routes to get to that point. But let's just go with the bank, because that's one of the things, and then we'll kind of spin off into other types of income. But what do you or investors that would be part of your business?
Yep.
So let's start with banks. What do you need to be bank ready? Let's take the latest business you had, and you're taking on pest control. What's the bank going to ask for when you sit down with them?
First thing out of the bat, they're going to ask me for a business plan. They're going to want to know that I know, and I've looked at all the different things from the customer base, who's my competition, how am I going to market it, what do I need to pull this business off as far as the hardware? Is it trucks or sprayers, or what's the licensing that's required? And that's what a business plan does, right? I mean, it takes you down that path and makes you think about all those things, because as soon as you slide that business plan across that desk, the job of the banker is to protect the investment of the bank. And so they're going to start poking holes in your business plan. And the last thing you want to do as somebody that's going in there is get defensive and think that your business plan is iron-proof and ironclad. You may have thought it through, but the whole idea of a business plan is to start sharing it with people and let them start poking holes in it so you can defend it. I've said it a million times. Some of my best team members are the ones that are not my cheerleaders. They're the ones that are going to take my business plan and start tearing it apart. I'm going to grab a book real quick on my, this book was shared with me many years ago. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's a BRG business reference guide, and every single business that is known is in here, from hair salons to walking dogs, and it takes you through industry standards and data that gives you some numbers to kind of work off of. And I never thought I'd own a book like this till I bought the book, and I always it's a good comparison to see how many other disaster businesses are there in the country, and what's their average bottom line, what's their average cost of goods, what's their average labor costs. And so you can use a lot of that information when you're building your business plan, because when they start poking holes and they say, well, where did you get this? You can lay that book out and say, well, here's where I got it.
Say the name of the book again in case somebody wants to buy one
Yeah,
of those.
it's
didn't
the
come
BR.
across very clear, so.
Oh, it didn't. Oh, it's
No.
called the BRG Business Reference Guide. It's an essential guide to pricing businesses and franchises. So it's really, the book is really made to, if you're buying a business from somebody or you're thinking about starting a franchise, it really takes you through the nuts and bolts of that data that's out there, and really helps you. Whenever I run a P&L or I'm doing something with disaster business or anything I do, I'll grab that book and compare to where I am with the nation. So it gives you some really good information. And part of business planning is it's a big guess, unless you're buying a business from an existing owner. Sometimes they got data.
They have their own data. In fact, that's what you did with your last business you just
Yep.
purchased. And I'm sure you didn't wake up one morning and say, I want to be in the pest control business, but all of a sudden the opportunity opens up,
Yep.
and because you've been successful in your other business, it gives you a little bit of bandwidth time. You have support on that end. You have financially can go and be able to do that. That's one of the things about building blocks of a business. If you build one, the next one, the bankers aren't quite as, if you've built one business and made it work, they're not quite as complicated to talk to when you bring a second one in.
Yeah, track record. You got to build a track record, right? You got to. It's one thing to be in here doing what I'm doing, and saying, well, this person does this and this person does this, but it really starts with my wife and I. Like, we got to know the nuts and bolts of how every aspect of this business works. We can't expect somebody else to be doing something the way we want them to do it if we don't even know how to do it. And so we've spent a lot of time doing I've gone out and cleaned janitorial accounts and to see and understand how that works. And that's what, to me, that's what a bank wants from you. One, they want to know that you have the work ethic and you're going to do whatever it takes to put that together. So when they start poking holes in your idea, instead of getting defensive, you want to start taking notes and say, I can answer that question, or no, I can't answer that question, but I'll get you answers. And that's a big part of going to a bank.
Now, how quick can that process work? If say you have a brilliant idea, and I just noticed in our neighborhood some signs put up about dog walking. People will walk a dog, and they'll go out and do that for fun and fun and energy, and make some money doing that. But if you do that and you say, boy, I want to turn this into a regional business, how long does it take to get from that business plan? Because you and I have talked about the business plan in one of our earliest shows. That takes some work to do.
Yeah. Yeah. How dedicated are you? How stubborn are you? How determined are you to go to, if you're going to go to one bank, that's one thing. But if you're going to go to 4 banks, and you want banks to compete against each other for your work, for your business, because they're a business just like you. So you want to pit them against each other. Plus, you're going to get all these questions. I think realistically, I don't think you can go to a bank for less than a month and really get. Unless you've got the next iPhone. And I think another part that plays into it is going to be how much down money do you have. If the less down money you have, the more work it's going to take to convince them, because that's what you're doing. You're convincing them to give you their money, and that you have a good idea, that you can turn into a concept that makes money, and more money down is going to maybe shorten that time a little bit as well. So it's how much risk you want to take. Do you want to take your savings out? Do you want to take your retirement out? That helps on all of it. I can't tell you how many times I walked into the bank, and he would say, Alan Liker, he would say, "Are you willing to risk it all?" And I go, "Give me the paper," and I would literally sign it. Personal, home, cars. I'm going to put it all on the line, and that's how much how much do you believe in what you want to do.
So when you do that, you have multiple people you talk to about this to make it work from a banking standpoint. How does that same thing parlay if you want to have individual investors? Do you get them all in the room, say, I'm going to pick up 5 local people that want to invest in a new project? Same thing?
I think investors is a whole different world. My dad, being raised, my dad always said, if you want to do it, anything you want to do is worth doing yourself. Because if you bring investors in, I think investors are even tougher than marriage, right? Marriage is one thing, but this is a different kind of marriage, because it is marriage and it is a relationship, and it has to do with money. I'm going to give you my money. What do I get in return? But also it's way bigger than money, right? You want to find investors that have knowledge, because knowledge is your power, and knowledge is what's going to help you succeed in what you're doing. They're the ones that are going to be poking holes in your bucket. And I think that's a critical thing. You're interviewing those investors just like they're interviewing you, and you have to have the courage to say, you know what, you might have an investor sitting there saying, man, I'm ready to give you this amount of money, but if they're not the right person, and they're only in it for the money, how is that going to work out in the end? So you want partners, because they are your partner. They're a marriage partner.
Yeah, and not so much that they, on a weekend when you get called out, you call one of your investors and say, will you come help me clean up this mess? But they kind of have to fit into that boat, some way to be able to help down the road if they're an investor in the process. That's what you want, is somebody to jump in there, and you and your wife do that a lot, of jumping back and forth and helping each other do different projects. Because you have, I don't know how many projects that you're working on right now between the two of you, but it's a busy lifestyle that it takes, and a lot of energy to get that done. Kris, going to take a break and going to come back, and we'll wrap up kind of what we talked about. And we have a series going here, and I think some people may want to listen to the whole series if they're really interested in being an entrepreneur. We'll talk about that when we come back. Our program, Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, is brought to you by Worth Wealth Management. Back after this.
Since 1776, the United States of America continues to stand tall. It's been tested before, many times. Through grit and the ability to move forward, we create better tomorrows. We help our clients live their best lives to and through retirement. We make it easier. Thank you, Kansas. Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
And hi again. You're listening to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. Our guest is Kris Munsch. And Kris, we talked about, please fund us. Before we go to wrapping this up, there's some online kind of pleasefundus.com kind of things. Is that for real, or is that just for a way to people to take your money?
I personally would be super leery. I don't know that I'd go down that path. First of all, if money's too easy, if it is easy money, there's something connected to it somewhere along the line that you just don't want to dip your feet in. And something that I don't want to forget to mention, Gary, is there isn't a better investor than a previous owner of that business. So if you've got a person out there who owns a business and they've been doing it for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, and they are looking as a succession plan to find somebody to buy them out and take over for them, man, you want to talk about an investor. And I'm telling you, I did it right here with this business. Corey Munsch owned Service Master. He and Pam started it in his garage. In the end, Corey stepped out. Corey and Pam stepped out, but Corey is always at the end of the phone for me as an investor in knowledge and all his years of experience. Man, I'm telling you, that is power. When you run into something and you don't know what to do, this guy's had to been in it, or he knows somebody that has. That's being bank ready, because being bank ready is more than money. It's the knowledge base. Of course it is the capital, but man, to step into a business that's already existing, that's already working, that's already rolling. Wow. That's the first place I'd be spending my time on, that instead of online, because I don't trust the .com world.
Well, you've done a great job of building a business. I was just thinking as you were talking about that, Elon Musk had his third rocket that he's been practicing sending rockets up. And I don't know if you saw it or not, but it was a disaster. They had to call in somebody to clean up a disaster, I'm sure, somewhere. Because that's one of the other things that you have to go down the list of saying, okay, what if things go wrong? And your conversation about having people, the old theory, it's not what you know, but who you know. And if you have somebody in your court that has experience of being in that business, that makes a big difference. I don't know about rocket launching and all of that, but it sure is one of those things that you learn from every mistake, just like you learn from the things that you do right. You just have to learn quickly and figure out a way to fix it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've crashed some rockets.
Well, we all have.
and some of
maybe
those
that's
rockets,
our next show. You know, how many rockets have you crashed along the way?
Because when you crash your own rockets, I'm telling you, that's you learn best when you lose money. Those are lessons you do not forget. And you buy, and we've bought equipment, we've got rid of equipment, we've gone down this path, we've gone down this path. That's the fun when you reach this stage. And I've had people say what you said earlier. You've done this a lot of times, so you make it look easy. Well, it's still not easy, right? I mean, we're buying this pest control company. It's stressful. You lay awake at night. What about this? And what about this? And but God, I love it. It's just so much fun.
Now you're just revamping that whole company, though, right? From what I've understood and seen, is that you're, new trucks, new graphics, the whole new thing is turning into a brand new pest control, kind of next generation kind of pest control.
Taking what's existing, taking what the previous owner had, and then we're taking it and putting our spin on it. New logos, new updating, new ways to track the customers, new ways to contact our customers. Using today's technology to input it into an old service, right? Spraying's no different. Crickets are crickets, cockroaches are cockroaches. But how can we do different? Never thought I'd own an app on my phone that I could just hold up to a bug and be like, oh, that's a German cockroach. And it literally told me that instantly. Not only that it's a German cockroach, but how does it nest? How does it breed? Where does it like to live? And then what chemicals are out there, and how is the best way to take care of it? That's the .com I like. That's the technology that I like. But I'd stay close to home if I'm going to find money. I'd stay close to home first, because those are the people that are going to help you.
Okay, next time we'll talk about crashing rockets, okay? And what we learned from crashing rockets, and do that. Kris, thanks for joining us. For those of you out there that want to go back to our other shows, you can go and catch up with episodes on Hayes Post. And so you go to Hayes Post and search for whatever. You can search Shorman or Munch, and it'll pull up those particular programs, and you can watch the past shows or listen to the past shows. Kind of fun to be able to listen to that while you're driving somewhere. That works pretty well. And Kris, I just appreciate you taking time out. I know you're one very busy person. You start early, you end late, and in between, I know there's an adventure every day. So appreciate you sharing part of that adventure with us.
I love being here. So I love the topic.
Well, love having you here. Our guest today, Kris Munsch, who's on Forward Ever, talking about entrepreneurship, leadership, and today, maybe how to go and talk to funding through a bank and others. Some good ideas. If you want to follow up, again, go to Hayes Post and look at search for Shorman or search for Munsch, and it'll show up on other podcasts that have led up to this one. Our program is brought to you by Worth Wealth Management, where you can live with confidence. I'm Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.